This is Dr. Christopher Wyckoff interviewing for the Hampton History Museum's Our Histories, Our Time Oral History Project. I am recording at the 2013 Hartsfield Family Reunion at the Y.H. Thomas Center in Hampton, Virginia. For the record, may I have each of your names, where you're from, and your date of birth?
Pernell Brown, from Hampton, Virginia, July 31st, 1957.
David Hartsfield, East Orange, New Jersey, April 4th, 1954.
Tawana Hartfield Simon, East Orange, New Jersey, 12/12/55.
Wilhelmina Massenberg, Raleigh, North Carolina, March 14th, 1946.
Roosevelt Hartsfield, East Orange, New Jersey, 5/5/29.
Okay.
Herman Tyrone Hartfield, East Orange, New Jersey, 1957.
James Elliott, Bowie, Maryland, March 3rd, 1948.
James Vines, White Plains, Maryland, December 4th, 1965.
Robert Perry, Washington, D.C., April 1952.
So we're here at your family reunion, and we just want to get you to talk a little bit about the origins of your reunion, how it was organized, how long you've been holding it, the meaning behind it. Just have a general conversation about that right now. Start with anyone. And
Okay, well, as I said, my name is James Elliott. Everybody call me Chubby. This family reunion was started in August of 1963. It was started a year after the death of our grandfather, David Hartsfield. And it was started because our parents, the original siblings of the Hartsfield, of David Bubba Hartsfield, thought that there was a need for the family to get together. And like I said, our grandfather died in 1962, so the siblings got together and started a family reunion. And it went from Hampton, Virginia, to New Jersey, to D.C. And it's been carrying on for, this is our 50th year. Some of us are wearing different colored t-shirts because it's like throwback t-shirts. But tonight we'll be wearing the t-shirts that commemorates the 50th year, the 50th anniversary of the Hartsfield Family Reunion. It's a legacy that's been handed down to us. A lot of love been handed down, and we, the siblings of the siblings, are carrying this great Hartsfield tradition on. And I don't know if you want me to go in depth about things, but the way that I was told, and some of us were told, that the way our grandfather got here, he used to be a bootlegger in North Carolina, and he had gotten in some trouble there, and he knew the sheriff of Wake County in North Carolina, and so the sheriff in Wake County knew the sheriff here in Hampton, so he arranged for the sheriff in Hampton to meet him at the North Carolina line so that our grandfather can come here. And when he came here, the way we were told, that he dropped the S out of the Hartsfield from the name and named himself David Hartfield. And only one sibling of the original siblings was named Hartsfield because he was born here, and that was Herman Hartsfield. But I am the oldest son of Lily Mae Dujack Hartsfield, who at the time we thought was the oldest sibling. But then about 7 years later, we found out that Wilhelmina here, her mother, Marie, was the oldest sibling. But whoever we come from, we are all Hartsfield family, and we are all here for one another.
any other comments?
Yeah, one of the things that he says, Aunt Dujack was concerned that we were spreading all over the nation and the world eventually, and that we should have some reason. She explained this to me, that we should have some reason to come back. So that's why the original one was just held really a few blocks from here. at her house, and we all gathered at her house. I remember distinctly because she acquired some tents from the military too, and we all kind of camped out in the backyard that first night, and she made the meal and she cooked the meal at the house, and we all ate all around her house. That very first one was here, just a few blocks from. That's why this is so significant to come back here, because it was just a few blocks from here.
Avenue, to be exact.
So some of you have a connection right to this very school, correct?
Yes, I do. In fact, we were sitting there in my homeroom class in the 7th grade, right in this class. So this is where I went to. At that time, it was junior high school. It was the 8th grade. It was junior high school, and this is where my class was, on the end down here, going out the exit door. So this is where we're, gathering here today in my old homeroom class.
Do you remember who?
Oh, that was what, 59 years ago? 58, 59 years ago.
Just to piggyback off of Robert Earl, and I understand, Tubby, you came full circle, because you're right back where you started. But I remember back on 918 Langley Avenue, when we all came in, and from the humble beginnings of sleeping on the floor, stepping over each other to go to the bathroom, clothesline tent, exactly. And all that kind of stuff. We were just, nappy-head little kids, just running around. From that humble beginning, this is where we at, after 50 years, and it's a testimony. I can't phantom how we came. It's only through the grace of God that we all, continue to do this and continue to love each other and to fellowship with each other. It's a testimony to us, it's a testimony to God, and my mother, she can really tell you, because she was a grown-up when I was a kid, and I remember, me staying down here, being left down here. I ain't gonna say staying down here, but being left down here.
Everybody want to keep them.
Because back in them days, I was a rebel, and still am to some extent. But it was a beautiful experience, and it was always stayed close to my heart. It really will.
And this became the school. So in spring break, since I sent down here, you didn't stay in the house. Like you did. You went to school with one of them that was in here. So, and they let you in. So this became everybody's school because they would go there while they were down here.
The reason why they could come here because they got out of school before we did.
Yes, sir.
We didn't get out until about June. They used to get out in May. So that's why they could come in and go to classes with them, because I was older than them.
Yeah. I went to work with you.
Yeah.
I went to work with him.
And this lady on the end down here, probably a lot of people don't remember, but every family reunion she came to, she brought a bag of Sweet Top.
Yes, sir.
She brought a bag of Sweet Top, and I remember her because I always get in line, and I always end up back in line. She said, "Ain't you been here before?" And I said, "Yeah," but she always give me some more. I love her for her Sweet Tops back in the day.
That's our Aunt Roselle.
She brought them all the way from New Jersey.
She's the husband of David Pete Hartsfield.
Right.
Yeah. And so she's been here from before the beginning.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I said husband, that's the wife, I'm sorry. James always correcting me before I say something.
I'm the youngest of all of them. I don't remember nothing that's going on. I wasn't even born yet.
In here.
Well, in terms of some of the memories that you may have had of Hampton, I know you didn't just stay confined to this neighborhood. You must have gone to some places in the city, and some of those places remain, and some of those places may not be here at all. Maybe your home place is no longer standing. Can you tell me a little bit about some of your memories of Hampton? Some landmarks that you may remember that aren't here anymore, places you might have gathered with friends.
I have one that I'm not even sure if the address is still their granddaddy's house.
Right.
And, you know, it's in this memorial that they're having, you know, on this book or CD. And I remember as a child, I never saw a ring of washing machine. You know, and being curious, I stuck my hand in it. You know? And it scared me. It scared my grandmother, but my grandfather, he just gave me some ice cream, kissed me, and everything was fine. Everything was fine. And those going into pig pens, you know, you're seeing pig pens, seeing the hog pen, seeing people falling, you know, coming out.
So that was here in the city.
But it was over there in what they call Southampton there, over there, a little past the Dog Bottom area. Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with the Dog Bottom area, but that's over there past Back River Road.
Okay.
Over the other side of Back River Road.
Okay.
And that's where our grandfather had plenty of land back there.
Okay.
Our grandfather, David, was an entrepreneur.
Okay.
The man knew how to make money. And he had acres and acres of land that he grew corn, he grew hogs, he grew peas, string beans, you name it, watermelons. You know, fruit trees, apple trees, grapevines, you know, fig trees, you name it, Granddaddy had it. And he used to take it, because I used to go with him all the time when he would sell his stuff. And he used to go all over Hampton selling the stuff that he grew in his fields. And he was, everybody was buying it. Not only black folks, white folks, they were buying it. Even back during that era, he would go to their era first, because they would be the first one to buy it. But we didn't, I'm going to say me, we knew that discrimination existed, but it wasn't as prevalent as in the more southern states.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And the white people here, I know our house, the house that we lived at that time was 418 Langley Avenue. That's what the first address. And then it became 918 Langley Avenue. We purchased that, my mother and father, Lily Mae Hartsfield Elliott and James Bloogie Elliott. They purchased this house from a lady called Miss St. Clair. She owned a peach farm right down here off of, I believe it was off of Olmsted Avenue down Mercury Boulevard somewhere. I forget where. All I can remember going out there picking Miss St. Clair's peaches.
You got in trouble doing it.
I didn't want to do it. None of us wanted to do it, but we went out there. And then after my father died, we found out why we used to go to Miss St. Clair's peach orchard and pick her peaches, because she sold that house that we lived in for $1.
Wow.
Wow, really?
So that's how we found out why we were going to Miss St. Clair's, picking her peaches.
Nice.
But unbeknownst to him, not only did he grow fruits and vegetables, but he grew a family.
Yes, sir.
And this is a testimony of the fruits of his labor.
You said he was an entrepreneur, and you talked about the farming piece. You know, talk a little bit more about that that mindset, if you will, and if that was passed on to anyone in your family in terms of business ownership, that sort of thing. What was his mindset about being an entrepreneur? Did he do anything else business-wise?
Basically, he was a farmer.
Okay.
That was his basic occupation. You know, he grew his own. In other words, he was his sole. He was ownership of everything.
I mean, he did that, and he also, you know, he would can goods.
Oh, yeah.
And canned goods would float up. This when their early years, molasses and peaches and stuff would always come up to DC. Would always come up to DC, and so his whole thing was, and really, you talking about entrepreneurship, and you backing off of it, but Aunt Dujack was the most entrepreneurial person. I mean, this whole thing of getting everybody back here in that sense, but she also manipulated to get things done. She would make deals with people, would get all kinds of things done. Food, you know, you go in their house. This is the first time I'd been to a place where I saw that people had a separate freezer than the one, because she would go and loaves of bread and stuff, and that all became all part of. So, you know, that's one of the reasons he never went hungry. You know, because her house was never empty of food. That kind of stuff. Even in addition to the house, you know, that they did. I remember being there and seeing them. I don't how she manipulated, but she extended the house and added to the house to all kinds of dimensions that it, from when I remember when it originally was, and she worked that deal out, you know. So I think each of her kids, if you look at that generation that followed her, you've seen that they did, wherever they went, they set up roots and go. I could think about all uncles and aunts and things that they've done to make their families also go to the next generation.
Right.
You know. I think about your father and he's going up to Jersey and getting involved in, and think of Uncle James going up and becoming a chef. They all went up to the military together, and they came out, and each of them took those industries that they had worked in and then turned them into private and I don't think anybody entities. All of them turned into private entities. You know, and in various cities.
Exactly. And what Robert Earl just jogged my mind because he said Mama used to be, we call her Dujack, her name was Lily Mae, but everybody knows her Dujack. Mama had a way with white people. Mama could
had
get
away with anybody.
yes, but what I mean by white people is that Mama could get anything she wanted from the white people. Mama got me my first job at Food Fair. Used to be right down there on Mercury Boulevard.
That's right.
And the butcher there, she got in good with the butcher. And the butcher used to give her meats. I meant T-bones. We had T-bone steaks back in the 60s. We had prime ribs back in the 60s. But what the guy's name was, well, his name was Jimmy. And he was the butcher at Food Fair. And he used to give Mother boxes of meat. On the top, it would be day or 2-day-old meat. But at the bottom, it was nothing but fresh cut sirloin steaks. Whatever you wanted. And she would get that at least twice a week. And that was the reason why we had that. We had 2 extra freezers. And they were long. They were about as long as the way the people are sitting there. And that's where we stacked out, you know, besides the hogs that we killed, because we were pig farmers. And we used to kill our own hogs, had our own chickens. And so we had our smokehouse for the smoke the meat at. We had everything. We didn't know what poor was, okay, because we always had. We always had food, we always had clothes. We had those hand-me-downs from the white people, brand new stuff. So we never knew what poor was, because we were always provided for, always.
She also had a garden.
About the outhouses.
Oh yeah, the outhouse. Everybody know about the outhouse. Man, you had to have in Roselle. You had to have a pot on the inside. You wouldn't have to go back there at night hoping the snake ain't back there.
That's right. That's right.
But everybody had outhouses back there. But my family on our block at Langley Avenue was the first family to get a television. And everybody congregated at 918 Langley Avenue, especially on Friday nights for the Friday night fights. But it was the Pokino parties. So much.
Well, that leads to another good subject, you know, community in general. And you know, one of the questions I have, you know, how do you remember in this area how new technologies impacted the way the community operated? And even major state and national and world events. Do you remember any community reactions to certain events, either local, state, or national? Maybe it was an assassination, an announcement of a war, anything like that that you might remember.
I think one of the first things that when it was started, when you're talking about worldwide events, is the assassination of President Kennedy. You know, I think that was one of the first that impacted not only my community, but a lot of other communities here. And I could remember, I was a child then, and I really didn't know what was going on. But I could remember my mother and my father saying, "Oh my God, they killed the president." And I didn't know what president, you know. But you know, the impact of that, I think another one was Martin Luther King, when he was assassinated, you know, and ironically, he was assassinated on my birthday. And I remember my mother saying that he was assassinated, and I'm like, and I'm thinking, this is my birthday. And I said, who? You know, so just some of those things, you know, as far as a African-American community, a lot of things in history, you know, after 50 years, a lot of things have impacted, a lot of things have been brought down to the younger generation as far as technology. Right now, I couldn't tell you some of the stuff that's going on right now, but these young kids, they pick it up like it's a second hand, you know, so the beat keeps going on. Right. It really does.
One thing I do feel, and this is just my opinion, with all, when we used to come down here, because it was in order, birth order, sister, brother, sister, brother, sister, brother. All the brothers lived up north, so every year we would go from here, there, back and forth. And we used to like pile up in cars, we used to have the clothesline with the tents, you know, like he said, you step over anybody, if you found that spot, that was your spot for the whole duration. And it wasn't any hotels. I don't have anything against hotels, but the family was more unified then. You know, everybody's on the phone, everybody's texting, you know, and there's no really communication because it's once you get tied up into that, it's pretty much an isolated thing. This is just my opinion. And, you know, they see each other, they need to see each other more because, again, these phones, these games, this texting, it's no human contact anymore. Right. And that's being lost.
It was face to face. And you couldn't run away from it.
Oh, yeah, it was literally face to face. It was like a call that night, and then you face either in Hampton or in Jersey the next morning. Because that's how it happened. You know, because you got on the road and you moved. You know, that kind of stuff based on that. And so you would be packed into a car. I remember the first time we went up to Jersey, we packed, I was here that summer, we packed into a car for the first family reunion up there, and in that station wagon. I remember being backwards from all those miles, all the way up because we were going to go. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so when something happened and you need to do face-to-face, people move to the location, no matter where it was.
And that was the beauty about it all, because it made sure that we were together. You know, and back in those days, I think I'm the oldest one except for Aunt Roselle and
you are.
And Wilhelmina. But we used to, like Robert said, we used to pack in cars, and we also had our food in the cars with us. So because back then, where could we stop at?
We didn't stop.
You know, just stop and get gas.
Because we were traveling Route 1.
Route 1.
Yeah, so you don't want to stop Route
Shirley
1.
Highway.
Yeah, Shirley.
I can remember sitting on the back seat, the back floor, behind the passenger seat from New Jersey to Hampton, Virginia. You know, my view was looking up at the daggone window. You know, so that was that. But you know, we talk about history. We talk about what our own experiences have been through over the years. But as Chubby had alluded to, Wilhelmina, and we was blessed, you know, to find out another chapter. So I'm going to let her go ahead.
Before we get to Wilhelmina, you said how did technology affect us? It affected us the way that Tawana is saying, it kind of separated us as far as the togetherness that we had. Because now, sometimes we find out things on Facebook. We used to call one another and say, look, this happened, you need to come and do this. But now, you find something out on Facebook. It's not personal
No,
anymore.
You're right.
It's not personal
Just
anymore.
like I was talking to you last time.
Yeah, so modern technology has, you know, the older generation,
It's a double
it affects us. But the younger generation, that's all they know.
That's all they do.
That's all they know. So they don't have that hands-on, that face-to-face that Robert was talking about. That Tawana, they don't have that face-to-face anymore. Everything is on Facebook,
Facebook, Twitter.
Twitter. I don't even know how to use Twitter. Instagram. I don't know what that
Whatever
is.
that is.
You know, but so I've just learned how to use email, email and Facebook.
Yeah, we noticed that.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, in terms, well, and what I was alluding to was, you know, and you've actually done it very well, the contrast between the first TV in the community, drawing a community together,
Right.
but now with an overabundance of technology.
Yeah, too much.
It seems that it is
Something
you're
being lost.
you're a microcosm of what has happened in the world, where what was supposed to make it easier to bring people together is actually
Separated.
Separating people.
caused fragment, and it's happened in your family,
Yeah.
among your younger generation.
With the technology, you know, these kids now can turn on a computer and look at Facebook and turn it off. But when you sit back and talk to somebody, you just can't turn that off because you are
You have direct contact.
right. Contact. You
Although
have to answer.
sometimes we want to cut them off.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. You got to know. You got to know where I come from because of what he said. But anyway, I'm gonna cut off.
Yeah, but our challenge, our challenge now is to, we're very new with this technology. You know, if you look at time frames of periods, that we went from in the 1950s to where we have a few 100,000 TVs to by the 1970s we had millions of TVs to the Zoom since the 70s and the 80s and the 90s of this whole new technology. So it's like it's been zooming really fast. At some point, someone, maybe it's come because I'm a college professor, we got to figure out how we're going to merge those. What was existed before with the personal impact, somebody has to be the orchestrator of how that stuff works, because otherwise we're going to say, stop and sit there and see what happens. Stop doing it, which you're not going to do. You're going to spend all your energy doing that kind of stuff. Because one of the things I do say is, no one here, even though they may not do it directly, and some do, because they may be so quiet, with technology and stuff, they can't get the information within an hour or so.
Right.
No one here can say they can't get the information within an hour or so, and put it all together. So it's not like they have access. It's not like we're being denied access. It's just that we're being dragged to it instead of agreeing to it. So we just got to figure out how to do it. Because one of the things is that we have people, and we did it a few years ago in Jersey. In fact, in Jersey, someone could not make it.
So we done tonight too.
And so I knew that was going to happen. See, I know. So they Skyped them into it. Okay. So there are ways that we can do it. There are ways that we can do it.
That's going to happen tonight. You know that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it.
With my area coming up, I remember, you know, the Crab House.
Oh,
not too far from Langley
yeah.
Avenue.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't have going to Disney World, South Beach, or going down to Myrtle Beach. We always went to Hampton or New Jersey. I didn't even know nothing about Disneyland. That was a fairy tale for me. It was either coming down Hampton for the summer, up Jersey. We loved it anyway. They say, look, we going to Hampton. It was like Christmas. All your clothes in the bag, getting ready.
Did you ever go to such attractions like what beach areas did you go to?
Buckrow Beach.
I
remember that. And the movie theater was the Basic Theater.
Exactly.
That was the Basic Theater. That was where the black people went to the movies at.
Now, what was that again?
Basic Theater.
Okay.
Out there on Queen Street in Hampton.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
no, of course, it's no longer
Tell,
there.
tell me a little more about that. Can you remember it? Can you remember what it looked like, or what was inside of it?
Your
What was
basic
the
movie
atmosphere in
theater.
there?
Your basic movie theater that had a balcony, you know, but only black people were allowed in there. We couldn't, I don't remember